Sonny Dykes should take a page from Deion Sanders and maybe even Joey McGuire in the transfer portal. We'll talk about it next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining the show. TCU has a bowl game this week. They play Louisiana on Saturday at 1:15 p.m. in the New Mexico Bowl. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show, but we start, as we have for the past couple weeks, with transfer portal talk, as TCU is trying to build a roster for 2025 to build on this 8-4 season, hopefully 9-4 season after this bowl game, and winning 5 of their last 6 to close out the regular season. They got a new signee, and this is a name that I've thrown around because, to be honest, I thought it was already a done deal, and it is now. Kevorian Barnes, running back out of UTSA. And if you've missed the insight that I've given of Kevorian so far, here's the gist of his career. Had a really good run in 2022 and 2023, over 800 yards in 2022, 2023 over 700 yards, was the lead running back for the Roadrunners, did a really nice job in Jeff Traylor's offense. This past season, the production dropped off in a huge way, however. 78 carries, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, about 3 yards per carry. And it wasn't like he wasn't getting opportunities. He did, and he just struggled. But TCU seems to be banking on hopefully he can turn back the clock a little bit and be healthier and do better in 2025. For the record, I reached out to Javi Cardenas, who covers UTSA for the Rivals Network, and here's what he told me about Kevorian. First of all, fantastic human, great person to be around. We thought it was going to be the next Sincere McCormick, who had a great career at UTSA, dealt with some injuries in 2023. That seemed to linger in 2024. He seemed to have gotten buried in the depth chart after some lackluster performances, especially after the younger running backs started coming on. I think he just needs to get healthy and a fresh change of pace and scenery. So that's what the TCU coaching staff seems to be hoping for too. Get this guy healthy, give him a new environment, and he can hopefully be productive for you. I will also say, I think with Kevorian Barnes, what they're asking him to do is at most be sort of a change of pace back. Short yardage guy, someone who can come in and give you 5 to 10 carries a game and give you great effort. Because at this moment, Jeremy Payne, most likely your starter going in 2025 at running back. If I had to guess right now, Trent Battle and Nate Palmer will have something to say about that. But Barnes is another option to have in that room, in that position group, that if he is healthy and if he can get better and just sort of get his mind right again, could be a productive player for you. Here's what I'll say so far about TCU and the transfer portal. Overall, I like what they're doing. I think they've done a nice job of showing some urgency in the receivers room. So they're losing Jack Best, Shavion Williams, J.P. Richardson. But they go and get Jordan Dwyer, who is the headline name of this transfer portal class so far. Had over 1,100 yards at Idaho last year. Super outstanding season, especially in the playoffs, FCS playoffs. Had 3 games where went over 100 yards. They also had a Kamorian Pimpton at tight end who didn't have a lot of production at LSU, but is just sort of an athletic freak, 6'6", 250 pounds. And I talked with Matt Moscona from Locked On LSU on Tuesday, and he was like, look, if this guy can get involved in the passing game, then he can be a special player. They go get Joseph Manjack, who had a very good career at Houston. I think he projects as an inside guy. So you got a slot guy in Manjack, a playmaker on the outside in Dwyer, and then Pimpton at tight end. Elsewhere in this portal class, so far, I think you could even throw Pimpton into this mix because even though he's highly rated and was out of high school, he hasn't done much at the collegiate level yet. He had 79 yards receiving this past year at LSU, and 50-plus of those yards were in one game against Oklahoma. Kylan Jackson, LSU safety, young player, hadn't played a whole lot outside of some work on special teams. Another highly rated guy a few years back. They're hoping that he can build on the talent he has. Ansel Dimbu did have 6 sacks last year at Wazoo at defensive tackle. Rasheed Jackson, who is a project at the offensive tackle position, but he did play a lot of snaps at Incarnate Word this past year. And then Kevorian Barnes, who I think in a perfect world, could be a good second option or second or third option at the running back position. Here's my concern. I like some of those pickups. And there's no sure things when we're talking about recruiting, whether it's high school or in the transfer portal. But I think you have to go get some more players with proven production, specifically at running back and along the offensive line, to feel comfortable next season. Here's why I say this. You look at what Colorado's done since Deion Sanders took over. And here's the reason I bring up Deion. Deion is a CEO of a coach, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Because of who he is, because of the player that he was, because of the person that he is, and the charisma he has, and just the way that he commands respect, he uses that to recruit well. So goes and gets talent. And he's done that especially in the transfer portal because since he showed up at Colorado, has made an effort to say, we are going to win right now. We're going to get guys who can play right this minute, and we're going to get after it with some urgency and win right now. And, of course, the last 2 seasons, he's had his son, Deion Sanders, who is a future first-round pick NFL quarterback, and then Travis Hunter, who's a Heisman winner, probably the best player in the country, plays both ways, just one of one, right? Number 1 player in that class. He gets him to come to Jackson State, flips him from Florida State, brings him to Colorado. But the model, at least from the outside, it appears the model Deion has built is I'll bring in the talent, I'll bring in the great coaches because they want to be a part of this team, they want to be part of this culture, they want to be associated with me, and then I'm going to let you guys do your job. And I'm making the final decision. I'm setting the vibes here. I'm setting the culture. I'm making a strong environment for people to work, but I'm empowering my players and my coaches to do their jobs. And I'm gonna say, hey, what do you need? I'm gonna tell my coaches, what do you need to succeed? I'll use who I am and the type of respect that I command and just the charisma I have to go get the talent you need, and then it's your job to put it together, and we all come together to make a winner. And even though they are different, because Sonny Dykes never played in the NFL, and he's, I think he's a good guy with the media. He seems very affable and all those things, but he's not obviously the personality that Deion is. However, when he came over from SMU, what TCU was selling people on was this guy figured out the transfer portal before everybody else at SMU. We got Shane Buechele and others, and he upgraded the talent at SMU, and he put good coaches around him, and he let them do what they're supposed to do, and they had a ton of success. And so with more resources, better facilities, more opportunity, being in a Power 4 conference, Power 5 conference, he should thrive. And I think in some ways he has. But at a certain point, I think if Sonny's going to be successful, it's going to be because the talent on this team supersedes some of their flaws, and it's better than the rest of the league. And right now, I think he's doing a good job in the portal of, okay, we need some help at receiver. We can go get some guys. But you were not able to run the ball last year. You weren't able to do it. Your answer to run the ball effectively was moving Savion Williams to this wildcat quarterback position and letting him do his thing, and that worked. And I think the offensive line started to gel as the season went along. So far this offseason, you've added an offensive lineman in Rasheed Jackson, who I don't think is a day one starter. You've lost your center in James Brockermeyer. You've got a ton of young guys that you're excited about, and I understand that there's this push and pull for coaches now of, okay, when do I start to trust the young players that I have recruited and say, hey, it's your time now. It's your time to shine. It's your job. Go get it. And when do I supplement that in the transfer portal and say, okay, I don't think everybody's ready. I need an experienced player to step in and sort of bridge the gap. And for the last few seasons, TCU has done that. They've bridged the gap with a lot of different players. And it's been kind of a mixed bag success-wise. If you're going to improve your running game, at the moment, it appears that their plan is these young running backs are going to improve. An offensive line, even though we're shuffling a little bit more than we expected, there's some continuity there. They'll get better. We got a couple young players in Ryan Hughes and Ben Taylor Whitfield who should be able to step in and play. But, man, like that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, right? I think you need to go get a running back. You need to go get a tackle that are solidified, that have proven production at this level, and put together a more physically dominant football team for next season. I don't think you can roll the dice with the O-line again. You've had to do it the last couple of years because of roster issues and just, I guess, maybe not having enough NIL funds. I don't know all the reasons. But you've sort of hodgepodge together a unit the last two seasons, and it's been pretty mediocre for the most part. Now, I like what they got in the interior, but you have to get better on the perimeter and at the tackle spot. Look at what Colorado's done over the last few seasons. Look at what Texas Tech is doing right now. I know, Cody Campbell, he's spending all kinds of money. He's got bankroll that maybe TCU doesn't have, but TCU's doing okay. I mean, this Jordan Dwyer kid they got, he's a big name in the portal. He was commanding a lot of money, and TCU was able to lock it down. So they've got adequate funds. Throw it at a tackle. Throw it at a running back. I believe in this team and their ability to pass the ball. I think they can do that well. They did it well this year. What's the difference going to be, though, if you can't run? Be aggressive. Go get some dudes. Now, they are looking at someone in the secondary who they hope could be an impact player next season. We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Time to check out FanDuel. FanDuel is where the game starts. FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. You put down a $5 bet. You win that bet, you get $250 in bonus bets. This is through the end of the NFL regular season, which is coming to a close quickly. Close the season strong with FanDuel. Again, that's FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. You hit on one $5 bet, get $250 in bonus bets. That's a crazy return. One winning $5 bet gets you $250 in bonus bets. If you've been interested in this world before, it's the perfect time to jump in. FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. FanDuel, it's where the game starts. So in segment 3, I'll talk about some guys I want to see in the bowl game, because I do think, even though I know some people are sort of disappointed in how it shook out, and I understand it, this could be a really good springboard for you in the next season. And honestly, between the practices and the game itself, it's all about getting these young guys reps. That's the future of the program. That's what you need to do. Turning our attention elsewhere on the portal, though. A player that visited last week, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle for me with a couple commits and then had holiday break, all those types of things. But Elijah Jackson, corner from Washington. And if that name sounds familiar to you from college football playoff lore in recent memory, Washington played in the national title games a few years back, and Elijah Jackson was a starter on that team on a weekly basis. And against Texas, he's playing that ball game. Fourth quarter comes around. Washington's up 37-31. 4th and 11 for Texas. Quinn Ewers, one last chance in the red zone to go in this ball game. He throws it up for Adonai Mitchell in the back of the end zone. Jackson comes over, knocks it down. Washington wins the game. And he made the game-winning play. As time expired, he had a pass breakup that won Washington that national semifinal game and put them in the national championship. He had a really good season that year. From a stats perspective, he put up good numbers. 63 total tackles. 48 of those were solo tackles. Had 5 pass breakups. Had 2 forced fumbles. But this past season, lost his starting job early in the year. Only 14 tackles total. Played some on special teams. I did see a video. Urban Meyer did this segment with the Big Ten Network. He did it every week this year. But back in September, Washington was playing Northwestern. Northwestern player breaks away on a kickoff return. And Elijah Jackson, who's on the kickoff routine, chases him down the 2-yard line. Washington ends up getting a goal line stand, and Urban pointed that out as just outstanding effort by Elijah Jackson, which that's good to see. I mean, seeing someone who bought into the third phase of the game, even though it was kind of a rough season for him individually, losing a job and that type of thing, that's encouraging that he stayed locked in, stayed engaged, and did his job at a high level and still did what was best for the football team. I reached out to Roman Tomasoff, who is the host of Locked On Huskies, the Washington Locked On podcast. And I just said, hey, what's the story here? He said Elijah has all the talent in the world, but it's always been a little bit of a streaky player. His highs have been strong, but his lows have been low, including getting beaten deep somewhat often, and just getting caught out of position. This year he got beat out by someone who's a little more physical than him, who defends the run better, a lot more aggressive in press, and has a brighter NFL future. So came back this year, new coaching staff. A couple other corners emerged, and Elijah had some breakdowns, some mistakes, got beat deep a few times, and then eventually sort of fell out of the lineup. So again, I think this is a situation where TCU looks at it and says, hey, change of scenery could be good for everybody. The reason I like this, corner's sort of up in the air at the moment. Avery Helm coming off an injury. We'll have to see how that goes. There were some guys that showed promise last year. I mean, Channing Canada, as the year went on, I think he got better. Javon McIvor, who played late in the season after dealing with an injury early in the year, he looked like a player late in the year. I mean, he made plays. But for McIvor, that's a short sample size. So we'll have to see how he does on a week-to-week basis. For Helm, I think Avery's a really good corner. It's just coming back from a non-contact injury. What does that look like? Where is he going to be at physically? Same thing for Vernon Glover. Coming back from a non-contact injury, talented guy, but not somebody who has a ton of snaps at this level so far. So what's he going to be like physically? Is he mentally going to be able to step in and make those plays and make that happen? But this gives you some insurance and a dude who should be able to pick up what they're doing really quickly, has played a ton, has played in big environments, is not going to be intimidated by anyone, and gives you a rotation there. And I think if corner is going to be a good spot for this team next year, then it'll be sort of a strength in numbers type of thing. Maybe you don't have one lockdown guy, even though I think Avery Helm can turn into that player if he is back to, close to 100% at least. But if you can get some good snaps from him and get some good snaps from Canada and then rotate in McIvor and potentially Jackson and a few others, Glover when he's healthy, then you'll have a recipe for success. It's just about finding who are those guys going to be and who's going to step up and make plays. But to me, this is a good take. Okay, it didn't work out last year. Get a fresh start. Again, a lot of snaps at the collegiate level, has played in big games, should understand exactly what TCU is asking from him, and can pick that up quickly and can get to work. But that's a name to know. Elijah Jackson in the transfer portal, and TCU, after this bowl game wraps up, will chase after some more guys. I think they're probably going to go get a quarterback. We'll see if they feel like they're good at running back and tackle. As I said earlier in the show, if it's me, I'm pushing and being aggressive there. But to this point, they did, to their credit, they went after Howard Sampson. He ended up at Texas Tech. But they threw their name in the ring. There appeared to be some mutual interest there. It didn't work out. I just feel like you have to regroup at a certain point and say, okay, this is a priority. We need to make it happen. Let's see what we can do to figure this out. But from a defensive standpoint, and the secondary specifically, you're able to get Jamel Johnson back in the fold. We'll see what Bud Clark ends up doing. You should have some continuity there. And then, you potentially add Jackson to this corner room with some experienced players there already. And I think there's some good potential to make this happen. When we come back, the players I want to see in this bowl game Saturday, it's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Let's check out Gametime. Gametime is the place to get tickets. If you need tickets, download the Gametime app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. They show you exactly what you're going to see when you sit down. They give you a great view of your seat on the Gametime app. There's no hidden fees. There's some fees, but they tell you exactly what they are up front, so you're not wondering what the heck happened here. Why am I paying $30 or $40 more than I anticipated? It goes straight to your phone. They have last-minute deals, flash sales, so they'll make it easy on you, and you'll know, even if it's up to the last minute, that you're getting the best deal available. Gametime app is super easy to navigate and use. Download it today. Again, that promo code is LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. Give Gametime a try today. This bowl game, it's super intriguing to me. Just what TCU is going to do, how they're going to roll out there, what young guys specifically get opportunities. These are guys that I want to see on the field getting good reps on Saturday afternoon. Ryan Hughes, get him out there as much as possible. You have to figure out what you have at this tackle spot. If you're not going to be super aggressive in the portal, then you're counting on this young player to be the dude. So he's got to get as many game reps as he possibly can. Start him, play him the whole game. I think regardless of score, regardless of situation, give him all the opportunities to get his rhythm and timing and footwork down in a game situation against the defense that's had some success this year. At receiver, I'd love to see Braylon James out there. I want to see Doozy Azakama get some chances. I know, Sonny said Blake Knoll. I get it. I like Blake. I love what he's done for this university. But I want to see some of these young players get a chance to go make some plays. Work with Josh Hoover. What's their chemistry like with Josh? Are they running the right routes? Are they able to handle the nonverbal communication that comes with play calling and checks at the line of scrimmage? Speaking of skill guys, Nate Palmer. This is someone that Kendall Briles said, hey, we're going to give Nate a lot of chances in this game to step up and make plays. He didn't play really at all this season. We saw Jeremy Payne. I want to see Jeremy Payne too. We've seen Jeremy Payne. We've seen Trent Battle. This is going to be such a huge key to this next season. Can you get consistency at the running back position? They had some players that were successful at times, that had some good moments, had some good games, but week to week, it was always just kind of toss it up in the air. Who has it? Does anybody have it? And Haas Haney's gone now. So the dude that was supposed to kind of take over the quasi Wildcat package that Savion Williams is leaving, he's not here anymore. You got to find a way to run the ball in a more traditional fashion next year. And that starts with what you're doing up front, but also who this running back room is, what their identity is, and what kind of rotation they have. Nate Palmer going to be a huge part of that. Need to see him in the ball game. Defensively, I want to see this young defensive line. We've seen a lot of Travis Jackson, but give him some more run. Marcus Deal, every snap I can get. I love me some Marcus Deal. I think he's had a great year. Give him every opportunity again to go make plays. Jonathan Bax, rushing the passer. Who is going to be that edge rusher that takes off next year? Devin Deal, really good season. But at that other spot, who steps up, right? Linebacker-wise, Max Carroll. Can he come in and play at a high level in this ballgame? Caleb Alarms-Orr. Is he ready to step up and take over that leadership role? Be the dude on the defense that is communicating, that's calling out signals, that's making plays, that's bringing physicality to the table and doing it at a high level each and every week. These are the players that I want to see in this game. Other than that, I think this is just about, what does the coaching staff have up their sleeve? What are they working on? What types of things are they trying to get in place for next year? And then what does your special teams look like? It was underwhelming and kind of disappointing this year. They've had some time off. They've had some time to regroup and think about things. Is Kyle Limmerman in a better place mentally where he's knocking down field goals? Are these coverage units sharp? Are they firing on all cylinders? because these are the details that are going to make a difference next year. TCU started to clean some of that up at the end of the season, and it was after a year and a half of just kind of being lackadaisical and not detail-oriented enough, in my opinion, to win close games. And so finally it felt like at the end of this regular season that started to swing back the other way to where they weren't turning the ball over. They were more fundamentally sound on defense. They weren't killing themselves with penalties every week. So are you in a place where that's going to be the norm, or was that just sort of a mirage against some underwhelming competition at the end of the season? That's the huge overall question for next year. Are you actually building on the foundation here, or did you just get some favorable matchups, win those games, and sort of get a false sense of security and hope at the end of the season? So bowl game this week. We'll also have plenty of coverage of the transfer portal, see if the Frogs add Elijah Jackson this week. Later on, Jeremy Clark was reporting that he visited those, so he was on top of that story. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast.